Voting manager.
Okay. Welcome everyone to our meeting. We have had just a meeting just with us? I don't think that we have. We've had some full staff meetings, but we haven't had one just with us. So I really appreciate you guys coming in. I know all of it is outside of your normal work schedule, so I really appreciate it. And we're here at the baseball stadium, so I did peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks, so hopefully we have a little bit of a baseball theme. It's definitely hot outside. It's hot in this room, so it feels like we're outside watching baseball, I guess. I'm going to hand you each an agenda.
Thank you.
And the first thing on the agenda is I'm just going to go over the reading of the minutes, which we really didn't have minutes at our last staff meeting. But remember, I did kind of a follow-up email with some action items, and that was a long meeting, and I'm not going to go over everything, but I just have a couple highlights from our last meeting that I just wanted, little reminders, I guess. At our last meeting, we talked about excellence, and all of us just kind of having a focus on excellence and keeping the Hammer Center an outstanding feature or quality for ORU, which is what excellence is. We talked about the fall semester starting and events. We talked about good communication. Rochelle went over the emergency fact sheet, which is in the communication binder still. Hopefully everyone's familiar with that. Rochelle went over the opening and closing procedures, and then Chelsea did some reminders since we were just gearing up for the new semester. She did some reminders regarding the front desk. Some of the main objectives for the front desk are greeting, monitoring, counting who's coming into the building, and then checking out the equipment, and then any extra assignments given. So we talked a little bit about the Eagle card policy, just a reminder not to take somebody else's Eagle card from who's not the owner, and also not to give somebody's Eagle card to somebody that doesn't belong to. The game zone quick reference guide, and then just some of the front desk protocol, I guess you would say, keeping the front desk clean and free of clutter, not using cell phones all the time, keeping that at a minimum. Some of the binders at the front desk, the resource binder, communication binder, locker checkout. We do have more people checking out the locker this semester. They've kind of realized the lockers are there, so that's been good. The workroom request binder, which is at the counter, the incident reports, vending machine, and time off request form. So there was no action items really after that meeting. So it's just kind of a quick overview of what we talked about at our last meeting. For celebration, which is the next thing on our list, I want to acknowledge Greg's birthday was not that long ago, August 28th, and Abel's is coming up. Yay for Abel, October 9th. And also then I just wanted to say, and then Rochelle's is in January. We'll have to acknowledge hers next meeting. I wanted to tell you guys thank you for everything you did last week. Last week was a huge week. We had inauguration, we had alumni board meetings, the main dinner being held in our building. We had Board of Trustees meetings, we had their Board of Trustees orientation that was held in our building. We didn't have, compared to the overall events going on campus, we just had a small part in that, but I appreciated everyone coming together and making all those events happen. Rochelle was sick last week, so I just also really appreciated how you guys just kind of came together as a team, covered all of her shifts. We all just kind of made it happen, so that's good. That's what teamwork's all about, so that was good. The next thing on the list is protocol improvement, which is just really some general reminders or kind of upcoming things that we're going to talk about. Outside clients, we actually had our first outside client last Saturday, the 21st, and we have another one already scheduled for October 13th. So it seems like maybe the word is getting out that we have a reservable space.
People have called.
And yeah, people have called. I think we've had a lot of inquiries, but now people are starting to maybe, really think about it as a viable space to have. And so the Garden Vista room was what was reserved over the weekend, and then October 13th, it's the banquet room. So if you don't mind, Greg, can you give just like a little brief overview of kind of what the event was, and then what some of the things that you kind of addressed afterwards that were not really problems, but just little things that came up, because it's good for everybody to know.
Yeah, well, it was a small group, like 8 or 10 people, and I think it was a local missions group or something talking about missions and stuff, but they came in and they were to meet at 10 o'clock. They got here. They had a couple questions. They wanted to know, first of all, if we could provide an extension cord for them. So I got an extension cord for off the vacuum cleaner. And then she wanted to know if we could provide a pitcher of water, some cups with ice. And I said, no, I really can't do that. I said, we don't have a pitcher. And I said, we don't really have a good system for that up in that room. And she said, that's fine. So they bought bottles of water from Jasmine's. And then she asked if we could, she thought there might be a table in the room they could use. I said, no, that room doesn't have a table of any kind. And I said, I didn't offer to take one in there. And so I just didn't feel like I wanted to take a table in there, move all the furniture out of the way. And so I just told her we didn't really have a table in that room and didn't offer to bring one in. And so but she was fine with that. And then they came down to Jasmine's, and they bought their lunch at Jasmine's. They bought salads and sandwiches and drinks and went upstairs and did their eating and had their meeting. And I think the only thing was they stayed longer than what they had planned to do. But other than that, that was pretty much the meeting and some of the general things. I think they just, they thought there might be a table in there and an extension cord and just needed a few things.
And they had called me the day before on Friday about 4:30 in the afternoon and said, oh, we need to do a conference call. Is there a phone in there that we can do a conference call? And I said, no, there's no phone in there, and there's no way at this late of notice that we can do that. So I did go over some of these things at my meeting with Tony yesterday, just to say, is this typical? Because I did feel like I addressed all of those things with them. I said the room, I told her the setup of the room. She said, oh, we know the room, we've seen it, we know what it looks like. That's a perfect size room. Now maybe in her mind she remembered maybe the purple ottoman as maybe she thought it was a table, or maybe she went in at one time and it had a table in it. I don't know. I mean, it's of course never been set up like a conference room or anything. I definitely gave her the catering guide, told her if she wanted water, coffee, anything brought into the room, she'd have to order that through catering. So I kind of felt like I addressed a lot of those issues for her to come back later and ask about them. I was a little bit...
You think she thought maybe it was complimentary water?
Maybe. She might have just thought you can fill up a pitcher from the water fountain or something. Yeah. So I talked to Tony about it, and he just said that it would have been okay for us to bring a table in if we felt like we could do that. If we had the manpower to do it, if there was a table accessible. I said we usually do have a table or two, and of course, we have the linens in there, so we could have brought one in. It would have mean bringing in, moving things out of the way, bringing in a table, bringing in chairs. An 8-foot table would it have sat 8 to 10 people? That would have been tight, actually. He said we could have even said, hey, we'll move you out to the banquet room because it was an open space. He said that they try to be as accommodating as possible. What they do is remind them that this was not in your contract, but we're going to go ahead and provide it for you. He said we could have went to Jasmine and said, hey, do you have some cups and maybe something we could pour water out of, and just given that to them if we felt like we could do it. So it's not against the rules to accommodate some of their requests. Then he said with them going over their time, what they normally do is, their time was 10 to 1, is that Greg could have went to up to the room at 1 o'clock. Do you need to get that?
No.
Oh, okay. Could have went up to the room at 1 o'clock, or probably should have went up to the room at 1 o'clock and said, just to let you know, it's 1 o'clock and your reservation time is over. There's nobody booked right after you, so if you want to stay, that's okay. But are you wanting to pay the additional $25? Just as a reminder, like, hey, it's $25. It was in the contract. He said we could go back and we could bill them. But for $25, do we really want to do that? We probably don't. So he said that they usually will just go in and give them a little reminder. That usually gets them up and moving, because if they would have just moved down to the food court or moved out of the room, then we wouldn't have thought that much about it. So so that's just, he definitely was not saying we did anything wrong. He just said it's just stuff to know as you get more familiar with it. So our next event is Sunday, October 13th, 5:45 to 7:45. And again, I'll try to address some of those things ahead of time. He said a lot of it is just asking questions. What kind of event? What are you going to need? Are you going to be conferencing people, and asking the right questions to where